I was happily married to Jessica for 7 years. We met in college, built a beautiful life in our suburban home, and had plans for children. Everything seemed perfect until that Thursday evening when she casually suggested, "I want to explore other options while we're still young. I want an open marriage." I felt like the ground disappeared beneath my feet. My world shattered in an instant. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you're watching from. Drop a comment below and subscribe to hear how I turned this betrayal into the most unexpected victory of my life. Jessica and I had what I thought was the perfect marriage. We met during our sophomore year of college when we were paired for a group project in our business communications class. The attraction was immediate. Her bright smile and infectious laugh caught my attention right away. We dated for 3 years before I proposed on a weekend trip to Lake Tahoe. After graduation, we both landed good jobs in Seattle. I worked as a software engineer at a growing tech company while Jessica pursued her passion in marketing for a trendy fashion brand. We saved diligently, and last year managed to buy a charming 3-bedroom house in a family-friendly neighborhood with excellent schools. Our future looked bright and secure. We had plans to start trying for a baby next year. Jessica had even created a Pinterest board with nursery ideas. We talked about future family vacations, retirement dreams, and growing old together. I thought we were on the same page about everything important in life. Looking back now, I can pinpoint when things started to change. About 8 months ago, Jessica began coming home later than usual. She explained it away as networking events, essential for her career growth. Her company had hired a new marketing director named Blake Thompson about a year ago, and suddenly everything was about impressing him and climbing the corporate ladder. Jessica started spending more time with her work colleagues, especially Blake. Their team happy hours stretched from 1 hour to 3, then to dinner. Weekend work sessions became more frequent. I trusted her completely and supported her ambitions, so I never questioned these changes too deeply. Her appearance began to change too. She refreshed her wardrobe with more stylish, expensive clothes. She joined an exclusive gym downtown and became dedicated to her fitness routine, going 5 or 6 times a week. While I admired her commitment, I felt our relationship growing distant. I tried to bridge the gap by planning date nights, surprising her with small gifts, and taking interest in her work projects. Sometimes it seemed to help, but often she was distracted, checking her phone constantly, even during our rare moments together. Still, I never suspected anything serious was wrong. I believed in our marriage and thought we were just going through a temporary rough patch due to work stress and growing responsibilities. How naive I was. The night that changed everything was our 7th dating anniversary. Jessica had forgotten, but I had not. I left work early to prepare her favorite meal, grilled salmon with roasted vegetables and that special risotto she loved from our trip to Italy. I set the table with candles, chilled her favorite wine, and even scattered rose petals leading to the dining room. When Jessica finally arrived home around 8:30 p.m., she smelled faintly of alcohol. Her cheeks were flushed, and she seemed surprised to see the romantic setup. "What is all this for?" she asked, setting down her purse. "Happy anniversary," I said, pulling out her chair. 7 years since our first official date. "Oh my God, Delbert, I completely forgot." She looked genuinely embarrassed. "Work has been so crazy lately." "No worries," I assured her, pouring the wine. I remembered for both of us. Dinner started pleasantly enough. Jessica complimented the food and told me about a new advertising campaign her team was developing. I shared news about my recent project completion and the possibility of a promotion. Everything felt almost normal. Then, as we were finishing our wine, Jessica put down her glass with unusual precision and looked directly into my eyes. "Delbert, I need to talk to you about something important," she said, her voice steady but with a slight tremor. "Of course, honey." "What is it?" I reached for her hand, but she subtly pulled away. "I have been doing a lot of thinking about us, about our future." She paused, then continued. "I think we should consider exploring other options while we're still young. I want an open marriage." The words hit me like a physical blow. I sat frozen, my wine glass halfway to my lips. The romantic music playing in the background suddenly felt like a cruel joke. An open marriage, I finally managed to ask, my voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," Jessica nodded, suddenly animated. "I have been reading about modern relationships and how monogamy is actually quite restricting. Many progressive couples are choosing more flexible arrangements." It could be good for both of us, keeping our relationship fresh and exciting. I sat in stunned silence trying to process her words. My stomach clenched as a horrible thought crossed my mind. "Is there someone else already?" I asked, dreading the answer. No, Jessica insisted too quickly. "This is about us not missing out on experiences. We got together so young, Delbert. There is a whole world out there. But I still love you and want our marriage to work. This could be the solution." I asked for time to think, unable to continue the conversation. That night I lay awake beside Jessica, who fell asleep easily after dropping her bombshell. My mind raced with questions. Why now was she telling the truth about not having someone else? Did she still love me at all? Had our entire marriage been a lie? A week after Jessica's shocking proposal, I was still reeling. I had barely slept, my appetite disappeared, and focusing at work became nearly impossible. I kept our conversation private too, ashamed to tell friends or family that my wife wanted permission to sleep with other men. Then came the moment that transformed my confusion into clear pain. While Jessica was in the shower, her phone lit up with a message notification. I had never been the type to snoop, but something compelled me to look. The message preview showed Blake's name. "Last night was amazing. When can I see you again?" My hands trembled as I unlocked her phone using the birthday code she had never changed. There it was, months of messages between Jessica and Blake. Flirtatious exchanges, planning meetings, discussing how good they were together. The earliest messages dated back nearly 3 months. My suspicions had been correct, but the confirmation provided no satisfaction, only deepening the wound. When Jessica emerged from the bathroom, I confronted her with the phone in hand. "How long has this been going on with Blake?" I asked, my voice surprisingly calm despite the storm inside me. Jessica froze, then her expression shifted from shock to defiance. "This is exactly why I suggested an open marriage," she said. "I made a mistake, yes, but I want to save our relationship. This arrangement could work for both of us. Many couples do it successfully." "You have been cheating on me for months," I said, "and now you are trying to legitimize it by calling it an open marriage." "I love you, Delbert," she insisted, "but I have feelings for Blake too." I thought this could be a mature solution instead of sneaking around. Her words felt like acid. Not only had she betrayed me, but she also expected me to accept it as some progressive lifestyle choice. The woman I thought I knew had become a stranger. The fallout affected every aspect of my life. At work, my performance declined. I missed deadlines, zoned out during meetings, and snapped at colleagues. My boss pulled me aside to ask if everything was okay. I mumbled something about personal issues and promised to improve. Physical symptoms manifested too. I lost 15 pounds in 3 weeks. Dark circles formed under my eyes from constant insomnia. Even when I did sleep, nightmares jolted me awake, drenched in sweat. I suggested marriage counseling, clinging to hope that professional help might save us. Jessica reluctantly agreed, but during our 2 sessions, she spent more time justifying her actions than working on our marriage. The therapist tried to facilitate constructive communication, but Jessica remained fixated on the idea that an open marriage was the only solution. Our friends divided into camps when the situation eventually became known. Some supported Jessica, praising her honesty and modern approach to relationships. One couple even confided they had tried something similar. Others expressed outrage at her betrayal, firmly taking my side. Most surprising was the reaction from Sophia Adams, Jessica's friend since college. I had always liked Sophia. She was kind, and genuine qualities I now realized were increasingly rare. Unlike Jessica's other friends who worked in fashion and marketing, Sophia was a pediatrician who devoted her life to helping children. One evening, Sophia texted asking if we could talk. We met at a quiet coffee shop downtown. "I need you to know something, Delbert," she said after we sat down with our drinks. "I do not agree with what Jessica is doing. It is wrong." I was surprised by her directness. "Thank you" was all I could manage. "She has been talking about Blake to our friend group for months," Sophia continued. "Bragging about him, actually. When she told us about proposing an open marriage to you, she made it sound like some exciting adventure you both wanted." Sophia's revelation stung, but her support meant more than she knew. She was risking her friendship with Jessica by reaching out to me. Over the next few weeks, Sophia and I texted regularly. Our conversations started about Jessica, but evolved into discussions about our own lives, interests, and dreams. Sophia shared stories about her young patients, her volunteer work at a children's hospital, and her love of classic novels. I found myself looking forward to our exchanges, a bright spot in my increasingly dark days. Unlike Jessica, who had become focused on status and appearances, Sophia possessed a natural beauty and warmth. Her compassion was evident in how she spoke about her work and how she listened when I shared my pain. For the first time in months, I felt truly heard. After 3 weeks of agonizing over Jessica's ultimatum, I made my decision. If an open marriage was what she wanted, I would agree to her terms. Not because I believed in the arrangement, but because I needed to reclaim some control over my life. I asked Jessica to sit down for a serious conversation. "I have been thinking about your proposal," I told her. "I am willing to try an open marriage." Jessica's face lit up with surprise and excitement. "Really, that is great. Delbert, I knew you would understand eventually." "Let us establish some ground rules," I said, my voice steady. "No mutual friends, complete honesty about who we are seeing, regular STI testing, and no overnight stays." Jessica nodded eagerly, though she frowned at the last rule. "What about work trips? Blake and I sometimes have to travel for campaigns." Of course it came back to Blake. "Professional obligations are different," I conceded, feeling sick inside. "I have one more condition," I added. "We check in monthly to assess how this arrangement is working for both of us. If either person feels it is not working, we reconsider." "Absolutely," Jessica agreed, looking relieved and almost giddy. "I did not expect you to be so reasonable about this." Little did she know that my agreement was not a surrender but the beginning of my own journey toward freedom. Once our open marriage began, Jessica wasted no time. Her relationship with Blake became public, at least within her social circle. She posted photos from their outings on social media, carefully avoiding any explicit romantic content, but making their connection clear. My friends sent screenshots thinking I was unaware. Each image felt like a fresh wound, but I maintained my composure. Jessica started coming home later and later. The no overnight stays rule quickly became a suggestion rather than a boundary. She would text around midnight claiming work ran late or that she was too tired to drive home safely. I knew she was with Blake, but confronting her seemed pointless now. Our home, once a sanctuary, became a way station for Jessica. She would breeze in to change clothes, grab items she needed, and occasionally share a meal before disappearing again. We were roommates at best, strangers at worst. "Blake and I are going to San Francisco next weekend for a marketing conference," she announced one morning over coffee. "I will be gone from Thursday to Monday." "That is a long conference," I remarked. "We are adding a couple of personal days," she admitted without shame. "The company is paying for the hotel through Sunday anyway." I nodded, feeling hollow inside. Jessica had gotten exactly what she wanted: a husband at home and a boyfriend for excitement. Meanwhile, I spent my evenings alone, throwing myself into work and trying to ignore the emptiness of our house. During this time, my friendship with Sophia continued to develop. We met for coffee once a week, sharing updates about our lives. I was careful not to complain excessively about Jessica, not wanting to put Sophia in an uncomfortable position. Instead, we discussed books, movies, her pediatric practice, and my software projects. Sophia was everything Jessica had once been: attentive, curious, kind. She asked thoughtful questions and remembered small details about things that mattered to me. When I mentioned struggling with insomnia, she appeared the next day with a book on sleep hygiene and a blend of herbal tea that had helped her through medical school. After a particularly difficult week, Sophia suggested we see a movie on Saturday. "You need a distraction," she insisted. "They are showing The Princess Bride at the Retro Theater downtown. You mentioned it was one of your favorites." The evening felt surprisingly normal, refreshingly so. We laughed at the film, despite both having seen it multiple times, shared a large popcorn, and afterward, discussed our favorite scenes over dinner at a nearby restaurant. For the first time in months, I forgot about my marital problems for a few hours. When I walked Sophia to her car, something shifted between us. She looked up at me, her expression soft in the streetlight. "Thank you for tonight," I said. "I needed this more than I realized." "I am glad," she replied, then hesitated before adding, "I really enjoy spending time with you, Delbert." Without overthinking, I leaned down and kissed her gently. It was brief, but sparked something I had not felt in years: possibility. Driving home, I experienced a confusing mix of emotions: guilt, excitement, anxiety. Was I any better than Jessica now? Then I reminded myself this was an open marriage. I was following the rules Jessica herself had established. I did not have to wait long for Jessica's reaction. Apparently, a mutual acquaintance had spotted Sophia and me at the theater and reported back. Jessica called the next morning while I was making coffee. "Are you sleeping with Sophia?" she demanded without preamble. "Good morning to you too," I replied calmly. "How is Blake? Do not change the subject. Answer me. Are you seeing my friend behind my back?" "Nothing about this is behind your back. We have an open marriage. Remember, your idea." But Sophia, Jessica's voice rose. "She is my friend. That crosses a line. We never established that as a rule," I pointed out. "You specified no mutual friends. Sophia is your friend, not ours. Besides, we just saw a movie. You know exactly what you are doing," she accused. "Of all the women in Seattle, you had to choose her. Jessica, I am following the arrangement you wanted. I do not understand the problem." "This is not what I wanted," she shouted, her voice cracking. "You were supposed to." "I was supposed to," what I pressed when she trailed off. "Sit at home alone while you explored your relationship with Blake. Was this open marriage only supposed to be open on your side?" Silence followed, then a quiet, seething response. "End things with Sophia." "Now." "No," I said firmly. "I will not. You do not get to dictate who I see. That was never part of our agreement." Jessica hung up without another word. That conversation was illuminating. In that moment, I finally understood the truth. Jessica had never wanted an open marriage. She had wanted permission to cheat without consequences. She expected me to remain faithful while she enjoyed her freedom with Blake. The double standard was breathtaking in its selfishness. For months, I had blamed myself, wondering what I had done wrong to make Jessica seek fulfillment elsewhere. I questioned my attractiveness, my success, my personality. But the problem was never me. Jessica simply wanted everything on her terms, regardless of how it affected me. As this realization solidified, my perspective shifted dramatically. The anger that had been simmering beneath my grief finally surfaced, not as a destructive force, but as clarity. I deserved better than this one-sided arrangement. I deserved honesty, respect, and real love. I thought about Sophia, how her compassion had helped me through my darkest days without asking for anything in return. The contrast between her genuine care and Jessica's manipulation was stark. Whatever happened between Sophia and me going forward, she had already shown me what healthy connection looked like. For the first time since Jessica's bombshell announcement, I felt something other than pain resolve. I would no longer be a bystander in my own life. 2 days after our phone confrontation, Jessica came home early, a rarity in recent months. I was preparing dinner, a habit I had maintained despite often eating alone. "We need to talk," she announced, dropping her purse on the counter with unusual force. "I agree," I replied, turning down the heat on the stove and facing her. Jessica looked different. Her confident demeanor had slipped, revealing uncertainty beneath. "This situation with Sophia needs to stop," she began. "It is inappropriate and hurtful." "Let me understand this," I said calmly. "You started seeing Blake months before suggesting an open marriage. You regularly break our agreed-upon rules. You proudly display your relationship with him to everyone we know. Yet me seeing Sophia for a movie and dinner is crossing a line." "It is different," Jessica insisted. "She is my friend. You are doing this to hurt me." "Not everything is about you, Jessica," I responded, surprised by my own steadiness. "My relationship with Sophia developed naturally from friendship. Unlike yours with Blake, it did not begin with deception. So you admit there is a relationship." Her eyes narrowed accusingly. "I am being honest, something you might want to try," I said. "Yes, I care about Sophia. She has been supportive during one of the most difficult periods of my life. A period you created, by the way." Jessica's strategy shifted from accusation to manipulation. Her voice softened, and she moved closer. "Delbert, I know things have been complicated. Maybe we rushed into this open marriage idea. We could reconsider, go back to how things were." "Back to how things were," I repeated incredulously. "You mean back to you sneaking around with Blake while I remain oblivious? That option is gone, Jessica." "What are you saying?" Alarm crept into her voice. "I am saying I am done being manipulated. You wanted an open marriage not to enhance our relationship, but to justify your affair. When I actually exercised the same freedom, you revealed your true intentions." "That is not fair," Jessica protested. "I am leaving, Jessica," I stated firmly. "Not because of Sophia, but because I finally see our marriage clearly. You do not respect me or our vows. You only care about your own desires, regardless of who gets hurt." Jessica's expression transformed from indignation to panic. "You cannot leave me," she insisted. "We can fix this. I will break things off with Blake." "It is too late," I said. This was never about Blake or Sophia. It is about honesty, respect, and equal partnership, all the things our marriage lacks. "Where will you go?" she asked, the reality of the situation finally sinking in. "I have signed a lease on an apartment downtown," I revealed. "I move out this weekend." "You planned this behind my back." Her accusation was rich with irony. "I made a decision for my own well-being," I corrected her. "Something I should have done months ago." Jessica cycled through anger, pleading, and even tears over the next few hours, but my decision remained firm. Years of trust had been broken not just by her affair, but by her deliberate manipulation. Some damage cannot be undone. The weeks that followed were challenging but liberating. I moved into my new apartment, a modern one-bedroom, with a view of the city. The space was entirely mine, decorated according to my preferences rather than compromises. For the first time in years, I felt truly comfortable in my living environment. My work performance improved dramatically once I no longer carried the daily stress of my failing marriage. My focus returned, and within 2 months I received the promotion I had been working toward. The increase in salary helped offset the financial strain of separation. The divorce proceedings were predictably messy. Jessica alternated between vengeful demands and reconciliation attempts. She tried to claim I had abandoned the marriage, conveniently omitting her affair with Blake. Fortunately, I had documented our agreement about the open marriage and her numerous rule violations. Throughout this difficult process, I worked with a therapist who specialized in betrayal trauma. These sessions helped me recognize unhealthy patterns in my relationship with Jessica and develop stronger boundaries. I learned that my tendency to prioritize others' happiness above my own had made me vulnerable to manipulation. I also discovered new interests that had been dormant during my marriage. I joined a hiking group that explored trails around Washington state. I took cooking classes and found joy in preparing elaborate meals just for myself. I reconnected with college friends Jessica had never liked. My relationship with Sophia evolved slowly and respectfully. We both recognized the complicated circumstances and agreed to move forward with care. Unlike my rushed courtship with Jessica, we took time to build a solid foundation based on genuine friendship. 6 months after moving out, I sold my portion of the house to Jessica. The real estate market had been kind to us, and the sale provided enough capital for me to make a down payment on a small townhouse closer to downtown. The process of creating a new home felt symbolic, purchasing furniture that reflected my taste, arranging spaces that facilitated my hobbies, planning for my future rather than our future. 1 year after Jessica's open marriage proposal, my life had transformed entirely. Jessica and Blake had lasted only 4 months after our separation. According to mutual friends, he had moved on to another colleague, leaving Jessica devastated by the same betrayal she had inflicted on me. Jessica made several attempts to reconcile, each more desperate than the last. She claimed she had made a terrible mistake, that she now understood what she had thrown away. She sent gifts to my office, showed up at my favorite coffee shop, and even came to my new home unannounced. Each time I maintained firm boundaries, speaking to her only through our lawyers. What surprised me was my emotional response, or rather the lack of it. Where once the sight of Jessica would have sparked longing or anger, I now felt only a distant compassion for someone who had yet to learn what healthy love looked like. I wished her well, but recognized we had no future together. Meanwhile, my connection with Sophia deepened into something beautiful. She had supported me without expectation during my darkest days, and now she shared in my brightest ones. Our relationship developed naturally based on mutual respect and genuine interest in each other's lives. We enjoyed simple pleasures together, hiking forest trails, cooking Sunday brunches, reading books side by side. After a year of dating, we decided to move in together, merging our lives with careful consideration. The professional success I had put on hold during my marital troubles flourished as well. Beyond my promotion, I launched a side project developing apps for children with special needs inspired by Sophia's work with young patients. This venture brought new purpose to my career, connecting my technical skills with meaningful impact. Looking back at the journey from devastation to rebuilding, I can now appreciate the growth that came from pain. I learned that self-respect must precede any healthy relationship. I discovered that boundaries are not selfish, but necessary. Most importantly, I realized that sometimes relationships we think will last forever are actually preparing us for the love we truly deserve. The open marriage Jessica proposed was meant to legitimize her betrayal. Instead, it opened my eyes to my worth and ultimately led me to authentic happiness. I did not lose myself in that marriage. I found myself after it ended. If you have ever faced betrayal or felt taken for granted, I hope my story gives you courage. Remember that your value does not diminish because someone failed to see it. Have you ever had to make a difficult decision that ultimately led to unexpected happiness? Share your experience in the comments below. Please like this video if it resonated with you, subscribe to hear more stories of overcoming adversity, and share with someone who might need this message today. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes the most painful endings lead to the most beautiful beginnings.